Hey folks, how you doing? This is Wayne S. Pierce for the American Liberty Radio Network, AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. Working on the main site. Got to have the backup site. You always have to have a plan B, you know what I'm saying? There's always a plan B, and a C and a D and an E and an F. Anyway, AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. Go there. Go to the sponsors page if you want to sponsor, be an advertiser on the network. That would be awesome. Go to the sponsors page. Everything you need to know is right there. If you want to become a patron, there's a link right there as well. Click on that to drop $1 in the kitty and, hey, help us keep the lights on around here. So anyway, AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. Colonel Schaefer warns of a bloody civil war. Lieutenant Colonel Schaefer is, well, let's put it this way. He knows. I'm just going to say it. He knows. Steve Watson, 20th of June, 2017. It's a video, and so I want you guys to take a look at that. It's on American Liberty Radio Podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening to my live show in the archives. Last night I did a live show for an hour and a half. The Truth Experience was let's put it this way. I talked a lot about a lot of things, and if anybody has any questions, of course, all you have to do is ask. AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. That video of Colonel Schaefer is up on American Liberty Radio Podcast. I've never talked in depth about the connections that our politicians have with the enemy. And when I say the enemy, I'm talking the elites that control Washington, D.C., and also the enemy with the guns over there in the Middle East and in other parts of the country that want us, completely destroyed. All right? There's so many people behind the scenes that are conducting nefarious activities and are engaged in bringing about the total and absolute destruction of the U.S. that it is, I believe, my responsibility and my duty, as well as the duty of Nick Tucker and Brian Lang and other people as well, including Alex Jones, to reveal who these people are that are engaged in treason. Yeah, their actions are treasonous. Their actions are, against everything that we know. And that we want, and the principles of peace, freedom, liberty, and security in the nation. So that's why I do this show, to, as I say, tear away the veil, tear away the curtain to reveal who's behind the curtain pushing the buttons and pulling the handles. And that's one of the things one of the things that I know for a fact is there's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Well, really, and I don't mean that as a racist slur. What I'm saying is there's too many people wanting to have that power and prestige, and they're going about it in such a treasonous fashion that when one person retires or one person goes away or a group of people go away, there's another group right there behind them, and there's no breathing room. There's no time for anybody to decompress and relax. So American Liberty Radio Network, as well as Distorted Reality, InfoWars, other places, Breitbart, they're going to reveal who's behind the curtain. And I'm going to do that right now. London terrorist fought for McCain-backed jihadist. Quote, nowhere in rebel-controlled Syria is there a secular fighting force, unquote. One of the Muslim terrorists who perpetrated the London Bridge attack previously fought in a militia associated with the Free Syrian Army, a group that Senator John McCain, a Republican from Arizona, has worked tirelessly to arm and support. According to the London Telegraph, terror suspect Rashid Rudoan, I believe, fought first in the Libyan revolution under the group known as Liwa al-Umma. He later joined a militia that deployed fighters to Syria and worked alongside al-Qaeda jihadists. Liwa al-Umma was formed by an underling of Abdul Hakim Belhaj, the former emir of the al-Qaeda-linked Libyan Islamic fighting group. The Liwa al-Umma in Syria merged with FSA in 2012 and collaborated with al-Qaeda's Syrian branch, al-Nusra. Okay. Now, let me go on. That's got to sink in a little bit, so let me move on. McCain constantly trumpets the FSA as a moderate opposition force to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's regime. The senator has parroted Elizabeth O'Baghy, a former director of a Syrian Islamic organization that helped define the Obama-era policy towards Syria. There is more and more present in today's world. And this goes on, this is like highlighted in blue, so I'm sure there's something to it. But let me move on. Let me highlight just some of the things. This is going up on American Liberty Radio podcast, but let me highlight some of the things that are here, okay, in this article. The New York Times ran a piece in 2013 outlining the dominance of jihadist groups in the fight against Assad's regime. Quote, in Syria's largest city, Aleppo, rebels aligned with al-Qaeda control Sorry, I'm hearing something in my headphones. I hear a loud little scratchy thing. Sorry. Take two. In Syria's largest city, Aleppo, rebels aligned with al-Qaeda control the power plant, if I can speak. I haven't had enough coffee this morning. Run the bakeries. In other words, they nationalized everything. They run everything. They put everything together. And it says, nowhere in rebel-controlled Syria is there a secular fighting force to speak of. Secular fighting force. There's a reason why they call it a secular fighting force. Our military is a secular fighting force, if you want a comparison. We don't have religious fighting forces. We don't have churches coming out with military, with a military unit out of their churches. Okay, you get the comparison. A report from the Telegraph echoes the claims, noting that the Syrian jihadists are, quote, now the largest and best armed faction in the opposition, unquote. Consequently, the London paper says, quote, more moderate elements have become progressively weaker through a lack of supplies and defection of members, unquote. The Washington watchdog Judicial Watch, which documented the terrorist connections to the group McCain supports, said McCain, quote, was so smitten by O'Baghy that he read a chunk of her Wall Street Journal opinion piece touting the FSA as a moderate opposition force during a Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing, unquote. Point is, McCain is treasonous. Oh, he's a war hero. He's a treasonous bastard that just turned his back on America. Okay? That's what it is. And I read some of that, and I'm putting this on American Liberty Radio podcast for you to check out because there's a lot more to it than what I've read and butchered. So, how can I put this without sounding as if I don't like America? We have certain people, certain groups in America that will never, ever, 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 have I said ever enough, will ever want peace, freedom, security, and liberty in this country. And they're born and raised Americans. Now, are they treasonous? Are they backwards in their way of thinking? Are they against, everything that we stand for under the principles of peace, freedom, liberty, and security for this nation? Yeah, they are. On both accounts. But for someone who is in government, for someone who is pledged to support the Constitution and fight the enemies of the Republic and, protect the nation and was in the military, to come out and support a known terrorist group and ask Congress for taxpayer money to support that group, to me, is aiding and abetting the enemy and supporting the enemy. He's doing a disservice to this country, and he needs to retire. And when he does that, he needs to take Nancy Pelosi and all them with him. I know that it sounds harsh. I know it sounds like I'm against these people or whatever. It's not so much against the people, against the human beings, against, who they are. It's against their principles they have. I've said it before. I'd like to sit down with Vladimir Putin and talk with him. I like the guy, but I don't like his policies. I don't like the fact that he, doesn't give his citizens, equal rights, within themselves and allow them to say what they have to say. Unless I'm wrong, I may have overlooked something, who knows. But the fact of the matter is that John McCain has literally committed treason against the United States of America by pushing for the funding of terrorists. And as far as I'm concerned, he needs to retire, and they need to arrest him for treason and charge him with treason. That's the bottom line. Okay. Now, I just think that there is a moment that we need to have where we can all come together and go, okay, we're pissed off at one another. We have this going on. There is a problem. Let's fix it. Instead of sitting there and throwing accusations and doing this and doing that, but point out those treasonous bastards in Congress and arrest them immediately on the spot. I mean, that's, to me, that's the easiest thing to do. Chris Menahan, informationliberation.com. Tucker Carlson takes on Democrat strategist who tweeted, quote, hunt Republican congressman, unquote, after Scalise shooting, quote, we are in a war with selfish, foolish, and narcissistic rich people. Why is it a shock when things turn violent, unquote. On his show Monday, Tucker Carlson confronted Democratic strategist James Devine for telling his followers to hunt Republican congressmen in the wake of the Alexandria shooting. Yeah, there's a bunch of tweets by James Devine. And I'm going to put that up on American Liberty Radio Podcast for you folks to look at. You don't have to believe me. I'm just saying, here's the information, go check it out. I'm going to say this. Have you ever woken up, got up in the morning, you go get your coffee, go, whatever you do, your bagel, whatever the hell you're doing in the morning, and you do whatever you got to do, and then you're trying to talk to someone and your mouth just does not work? Words just, you're trying to say something and it's just, it comes out all twisted and everything. Yeah, I woke up this morning feeling kind of like that. I only had one cup of coffee and I need another one. So, yeah, Now, what do the elites want? What do the elites want? What do the people that control Washington, D.C. want? Not only have they bought and paid for every single office up there, and your votes don't count, but what do they want ultimately? What do they ultimately want? What is their goal? What is their purpose? What is their end game? Michael Snyder, end of theamericandream.com. War with Russia. The Russians announce any U.S. planes flying over Syria will be treated as, quote-unquote, targets. This represents a major escalation by U.S. forces. In the escalating conflict in Syria, is the escalating conflict in Syria setting the stage for World War III with Russia? On Sunday, U.S. Navy F-18 shot down a Syrian Army Su-22 near Raqqa. Is that how you pronounce it? This represents a major escalation by U.S. forces because this is the very first time that the U.S. military has shot down a Syrian warplane since the civil war began in 2011. Now, I'm going to stop right there. Why are we involved in their civil war? Continuing, needless to say, the Russians were not pleased by this at all. In fact, according to The Independent, the Russians have just announced that all U.S. warplanes flying over Syria will now be treated as targets by the Russian military. Again, folks, why are we over fighting in their civil war? By the way, our military-industrial complex, through their financial tentacles, have armed and supported Syrian rebels. Okay? I'm just saying. You don't believe me? Go look it up. So, there are certain things that we need to be aware of. Now, of course, if you're aware of them, you'll know, what steps to take afterwards. If you're aware of a problem, you usually come up with a solution pretty quickly. Whatever it may be. You may see something that's wrong, but somebody may be looking at it and think that, oh, it's okay, it's fine. It's perfectly okay. I'm going to say this because I've been around a lot of people in my time. A lot of people. And, I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people from different lifestyles, and my browser is not working correctly, so give me a sec. I've been around a lot of people. And I've spoken to a lot of people. And I've helped a lot of people. And I've done what I could to not only, do that, but also to learn. And I've learned a great deal about people themselves. About individuals who are different than me. Who people who are different than me, who may or may not agree with the things that I say, or may not agree with the things that I do, or may not agree with certain things that I believe, or whatever. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't care how different you are from me. I don't care if you disagree with me. It doesn't really matter, because it's not so much the disagreement that you have with me. It's the fact that your perspective, you're only seeing things from your own narrow perspective. It's not that you disagree with me. It's that you only see things from your narrow perspective. Okay? Growing up in Stockton, California, I had opportunities to talk to a lot of people and be friends with a lot of people and know a lot of people through friends. And I can tell you, my preconceived ideas and all of the judgmental thoughts I had flew right out the window. Oh, but wait, are people stupid? Yes, they are. Are people ignorant? Only when they ignore the obvious. I will still stand on that. But when you look at somebody's lifestyle, and when you look at how certain lifestyles disagree with your own, my question is, why are you being so judgmental? Why are you being so prejudiced? Why are you being so socially difficult, as one person told me years ago? I find that people can be tolerant of certain things only if it benefits them, and no other way. There are certain people that way. Not everybody. Certain people are that way. Certain groups of people are that way. They will not tolerate anything, anyone, for any reason, unless they see things their way. I had a friend of mine tell me once, I was talking about, doing theater. I was talking, and he's, I went to high school with the guy, and so years later we were talking, I met him again for lunch, and we're talking and everything, and I told him what my idea was, and he thought it was a great idea, and but then where he was working, and he was going to church at the time, working at the church, I said, why can't people here really admire or appreciate the differences of other people? And we were talking about that. And he gave me the church view, as I like to call it. And he basically said to me, he says, when you get here, you learn things. And we appreciate things. But, and here's what I want to say. He told me this. But once, and here's his quote unquote, once you get with the program, things are different. Things will be different. That's what he said. Once you get with the program, things will be different. I remember that to this day, and this was back in 95, 96. He told me this. And from that, I began to see how the churches were completely and utterly intolerant of anyone who thought any other way except their way. You want a comparison? Islamic jihadists and the Islamic religion, When you read the Quran, when you study out the culture of the people, when you see what's going on, and it literally is based upon the, several reasons why and several areas of this, but it's based upon the culture of these people. Not all Muslims are jihadist terrorists. I know a few in Stockton, California that would give their shirt off your back if you needed it. But these jihadists out there that want to destroy the United States, that want to come over here and kill everything from democracy to freedom to the complete, United States as a whole, these people run on this philosophy of, if you don't believe our way, we're going to kill you. And that brought to mind the intolerance of the Christian church. If you don't believe our way, we're going to excommunicate you. Well, that's what the Catholics do. So, tell me again what the difference is here. And here's something. I remember seeing a comedy tour with an atheist, a Muslim, a Christian, and a Jew. Sorry. And they were all, it was in a comedy tour. I've seen comics who said right on stage they're Muslim, but they're not jihadist, and they totally, absolutely disagree with that side of their religion. And I know people personally that say that. So, where's the line drawn in the sand between you and I, trying to make a living, trying to get by, trying to survive, and the Christians and the Muslims fighting amongst one another? Where's that line that has been drawn? I don't see it. Do you want it? I don't. So when you have those differences in that regard as a whole on a political scale globally, you got some serious mental problems that you have to have looked at seriously. Some serious thought has to go into a group like the jihadist terrorists that want to destroy people. A serious thought. I mean, you're sitting around every day trying to come up with ideas on how you can destroy humanity. Don't they understand that once their usefulness to their group is done and they serve no purpose, they're out? Okay? It's incredible the mindset that these people have. And Christians are intolerant, but will be passive and will say, well, we got to pray more for them. We have to. And here's a quote, because I spent almost 20 years in church. Here's a quote directly from people that I've talked to. I'm going to, throw this into one quote, but the idea came from various people, but here it is. Quote, we have to get on our knees and move God's heart, unquote. My question is, since God already knows this is happening, why doesn't he take care of it without you intervening for other people? So, the groups that are out there, the Christian groups that are out there, yelling and screaming and doing all that, and and chaining themselves to abortion clinics, and doing this and becoming radicalized under their let me just bottom line this for you before I go to break. And it's this. You've got to be mentally screwed up a lot to sit around to conceive these ideas, to conceive these things to wipe out humanity. You've got to be some serious screwed up in your mind to do this. And I'm talking both sides of the religious arena. You got to be some serious crazy to be going out there doing that kind of stuff. I'm talking specifically the radicalized areas of Christianity and Islam. You got to be some serious brain dead folks out there if that's all you want to do is just go create chaos. I don't know what to say, man. I really don't know what to say. I really don't. You got to think about it. You got to put yourself in a position to where you're going to, really think about this stuff and think about what the hell am I doing to another human being? Mentally, physically, spiritually, everything. You have to think about that. I'll be back right after this. You know what you want. You want the truth. You want the facts. Without all the BS. American Liberty Radio Network. AmericanLibertyRadio.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Distorted Reality. I am your host, Nick Tucker, and I welcome you to the broadcast.
Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker. DistortedReality.podbean.com and Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker on American Liberty Radio Network.
There's a show that's not afraid to ask questions no one else will ask. Not afraid to say
what no one else will say.
Friday nights at 7 p.m. Listen to Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie, where no topic is off limits. Conspiracy theories, paranormal activities, hoaxes, the unexplained. It's what we talk about. Question everything. Trust no one. Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie. Friday at 7 p.m. on the KCOR Digital Radio Network out of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hello, everybody. This is Brian Lang with Live Truth Radio and TV. You're listening to Wayne S. Pierce with American Liberty Radio.
Hey, folks, how you doing? Welcome back. The American Liberty Radio podcast right here on a daily basis, Monday through Saturday. Sometimes not Saturday, but mostly. Sometimes live, sometimes not. Mostly not. I hope you heard the Truth Experience last night because I went through a lot of stuff last night. If you haven't, go listen to it. It's in the archive. It's one of those things, folks. You cannot and will not agree with everything anybody says. You got two people in a room. I'll put you in this example. You're in a room with a friend of yours. You know the truth. You know, here it is. This is what it is. I see it. There it is. 1 + 1 = 2. This is how it is. And here's all the documentation to prove it. And your friend looks at you and says, that's a bunch of bullcrap. You're lying. Well, I'm going to tell you something, folks. Somebody in that room is wrong. And if you've got information to back up what you say and it's accurate, factual, and true, yeah, somebody in that room is lying and it sure isn't you. I'm just saying. I was talking about the differences and the intolerance of people. Growing up in Stockton, California, I had the opportunity of speaking to a lot of people and talking to a lot of friends of mine and realizing who they were and all this after a while. You don't, they don't tell you all their intimate little details of their life. You just go out and have fun and party and that kind of crap. You don't really know what they're doing or who they really are until later when you guys are mature enough to really sit down and have a chit-chat. When I found out about gay people, it didn't bother me because I have, growing up, I had, Mexican friends, I had black friends, I had Asian friends, I had gay friends, didn't matter to me. Here's where the intolerance of the church comes from. Christians will tell you that a gay person will go to hell if he doesn't change his ways and give his life to Christ. Muslim in the Islamic faith will just freaking throw you off a building. So, this idea came up many years ago for me, and I thought, well, okay, I was searching for answers when I was in my 20s, and I began to go to church. And this is when, long after I was into the church for almost 20 years, I realized just how intolerant they truly were. Didn't know it at the beginning, at the start of my, search, but found out later on. And here's part of their intolerance. I was talking about gay people. I know gay couples, and they're fine, and I'm good with it. I'm okay with it. What they do, is what they do. I just saw an article, and I saw a headline for an article. I didn't read the whole thing, but let me go do a quick search here while I've got you on the line. LBGTQ want rainbow crosswalks, if I can spell right. There it is, right there at New York Post and The Blaze, of all people. TheBlaze.com. And let me give you, as soon as my browser decides it wants to work, I got Wi-Fi in the studio, folks. I need to get it wired up. I got Wi-Fi, so if you want to drop a buck in the become a patron on my website, that'll help me get that. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Danielle Furfaro, I think that's what it is. New York Post. Thank you, Danielle. Appreciate that very much for this article. This was posted on the 16th of June, 2017. LGBT group wants to paint city sidewalks in rainbow colors, or crosswalks, city crosswalks in rainbow colors. An LGBT activist group wants to make New York City's crosswalks less zebra and more unicorn. Care 2, that's CARE number 2, Care 2 started a petition on Friday asking the city to permanently paint some of its crosswalks in rainbow colors to support LGBT rights. Quote, "It's amazing how something so small can make you feel positive and safe," unquote, said Tim Robinson, director of business development at Care 2. Quote, "New York City should stand proud and show the world that it supports its LGBT community," unquote. Washington, D.C. and Atlanta officials installed permanent rainbow-colored crosswalks in both those cities within the past few months. New York City temporarily painted 2 crosswalks rainbow colors for Pride Week last June. They were at 36th Street and 5th Avenue and at Christopher Street, crossing near the Stonewall Inn, which are the start and end points of the Pride March. It would make sense for crosswalks to be in the West Village near Stonewall and in Chelsea, which is a hub of gay culture, says Robinson. City officials said they are considering the petition and at the very least plan to have rainbow crosswalks for the Pride March again this year. The petition had more than 3,300 signatures as of 4 p.m. on Friday. So I'll put that New York Post article into the comment section of something I wrote. And then I will also put that on American Liberty Radio podcast. I wrote this. LGBTQ community and possibly the advocates supporting them are demanding rainbow crosswalks across the country. Well, not so much across the country, just within the city. I wrote this, I just saw the headline and I wrote this before reading the article, okay? A little transparency there, okay? I wrote this before reading the article. I said the LGBTQ community and possibly the advocates supporting them are demanding rainbow crosswalks across the country. Okay, well, I got to change that. And I clarified it by putting the link in the comment section. I said, really? Now, when I was going to church many, many years ago, I kept hearing that, you got to be against gays. You have to change them. You have to pray for them. You have to do this. You have to do that, because, folks, let me just break it down for you. They're human beings. Treat them as such. Just, they're consenting adults. They can do whatever you and I do, except, I'm straight, but I don't, whatever anybody else wants to do with their life, it's not going to affect me. They have a right to do that. Whoever they want to love and marry is completely up to them. I've been married and divorced twice. So, do I have bad things to say about the institution of marriage? No. If they want to get married, go ahead. Doesn't affect me one bit, does it? So I said, from the church's point of view, now remember, I've been out of church for almost 15 years. I haven't gone to church in a long, long time. But the church's stance on gay issues is basically that gays are immoral and the act they commit is immoral. That's how the church looks at it. I said the LGBTQ community and possibly the advocates are who support them are demanding rainbow crosswalks across the country. No, just in New York. I said, really? And I thought the way the church thought and said, legitimize and politicize an immoral act? Now, I'm asking a question there. I'm not making a statement. I'm asking a question. And then I said, why? And then I went on to say, I personally don't care what they want to do. It doesn't affect me at all. Churches might come unglued, though. What's your view? Now I wrote that again before reading the article from the New York Post. So the link to the New York Post article is there in the comment section. And I'm going to post that article and that link. Well, it's there. It's in American Liberty Radio podcast. So just go to American Liberty Radio Podcast on Facebook, scroll on down, you'll find the article. And what I said. Two things that I've known throughout my whole, churchy life and even afterwards, and even in my own life, my mama didn't raise no fool, by the way, is that people are people. They're human beings. Treat them with respect, treat them nice, treat them right. And you'll get that in return. And my grandma taught me well, too. So, I don't have a problem with them. I have family members and friends who are gay. And I'm like, so? Doesn't matter. Doesn't affect me. You know? A friend of mine asked me if I would ever, marry a gay couple. I don't, I used to think that, because of my indoctrination from the Christian church, I used to think that it was wrong. And then I began to think, wait a minute. From the church's point of view, when they use the Bible, I'm looking at the church's point of view now, when it says, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in Jesus Christ shall have eternal life. Remember that? Okay, John 3:16. I thought about that first part, God so loved the world. Then I thought about the action he took. He gave his only Son, apparently within the Christian myth. What does that tell me? What right do I have to deny someone their love for someone else? I don't have that right. I don't have that right. Okay, I don't. If two guys want to love one another and live with one another, it's not affecting me any. Go ahead. I know gay couples. And let me tell you something. They're some coolest people I ever met, man. They're the coolest people I ever met. It's like, what the hell? They're only human beings. That doesn't affect me any. So, what right do I have to tell someone they can't love somebody? The church thinks they have that right. They think they have the market cornered on, judgment. And literally they do, because they throw their ecumenical darts out at everyone and say, if you don't believe our way, we're going to excommunicate you. Well, guess what? I saw a study, and here's my point, and then I'm probably going to go into overdrive for a little bit, but here's my point. I've seen a study where in the last 15 years or so, or a little more than that, people in fundamentalist Christian churches, the Pentecostal churches, even Mormon churches, by the way, people are leaving the churches, not so much that the church is what the church has become, but they're just getting tired of organized religion. And that's a small percentage of the people who are leaving churches in droves. There's other reasons. It's a matter of personal responsibility. It's a matter of personal choice. It's a matter of personal beliefs. Not sitting there in a room of 400 people who think the same way you do and become militant and intolerant to anybody else who doesn't think the same way you do. So, when you compare the level of ignorance and intolerance of organized religion in its most indoctrinated radical form, you're going to have some serious mentally disturbed, ill people around. Now, I'm not saying they're all like that. What I'm saying is there's a comparison and contrast to certain areas and certain groups of people within the church community. I've been around certain churches where you see this one person over or a couple over on, the side of the church over by the door, and they're kind of sketchy looking. So, it's one of those. And I can talk about, Waco all day long, David Koresh, Vernon Howell, which is his real name, Vernon Howell. I can talk about Jim Jones in the 70s. I can talk about, all these, preachers and pastors and Catholic priests that are, been arrested and lost their ministries. And, I can but I won't, because there's some serious mentally ill people out there because of the radicalized indoctrination they have and the intolerance that they are taught. That's basically it. That's basically it. Now, I didn't want to get into this whole huge discussion about this, but it was on my mind and has been on my mind for several weeks because of the couple of instances in London. You know, the cars driving up on the sidewalk and wiping people out and that kind of thing, and you've got, you know, shootings everywhere, and you got this, and then you have, you know, these, and I'm going to call them what they are, these radical jihadist Muslims over here, these terrorists that are coming over here disguising themselves as refugees, and they're trying to undermine the peace, freedom, liberty, and security of the United States by aligning themselves with the terror cells that are already here. Yes, they are here. Look at the FBI's own information. Terror cells are already here on the soil of the United States of America. And my question to you, to the patriots out there, to the law enforcement, to the current and retired law enforcement, to the current and retired military personnel, what the hell are you going to do? You raised your hand and pledged that you would defend the Constitution in the United States of America against enemies foreign and domestic. What the hell are you doing sitting around thinking, well, I don't want to offend anyone? No, screw that. Go out and take care of business the way that you should. And I can tell you right now, what does that have to do with the LGBTQ community? Well, you look at some of the people in that group. My point is, in every group, there's going to be a massive amount of good people, but there's also going to be those little tiny groups within those bigger groups that are going to be so radicalized and so just narrow-minded and just so bent on destroying things that they're going to try to manipulate in a sociopathic way, they're going to try to manipulate other people to believe what they believe and get them on their side. I've seen it firsthand. Okay? I've seen it firsthand. And as far as I'm concerned, we got some serious mentally ill people out there that need some serious help. So when I look at the whole environment of the United States, in the political environment, in the religious environment, in the academic environment, when I look at all of that and more, I got to ask, how stable are these people? Because, and here's a prime example, and you see it every freaking day. Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, John McCain. You see these narrow-minded, radicalized people that just cannot stand the fact that there's people out there that want peace, freedom, liberty, and security for the nation. But these people, the three I just mentioned, want open borders and want all these refugees in here because they want to. Let me tell you, the Republicans and Democrats are part of one party, the Progressive Party. Within that Progressive Party, that group of people, there are some who are so radicalized against the United States of America that they are your congressman and your congresswoman. And they will do everything to undermine the Donald Trump presidency and his administration. I can tell you that much right there. Oh, I know more, but I'm not going to let you know about it. I've got to vet a few things. I got to make sure that there's some other things that need to be looked at and examined and investigated because I want it to be as accurate as possible before I even tell you about it. So all of that, I talked about the religious community, the LGBTQ community, how the churches are intolerant and all that. I've talked about all that. You can just go back and hear it again. And my whole point of that is you've got people in Congress right now who are intolerant to peace, freedom, liberty, and security for the nation, and they will do everything they can to undermine President Trump and his administration. And they want to tear down this country. Don't give me this crap that, John McCain's a war hero. No, he's a treasonous bastard is what he is. And anybody, any congresswoman, any congressman that stands up and raises their hand and says they're going to protect the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic, if they're not doing what we the people want them to do, we need to get them out. Well, we get them out every 4 years. No. We need to, and I don't know how legal this is because I am not an attorney, so don't do anything until you consult an attorney about this. But we, the people, can walk into that Congress, can walk up to those people and declare citizens arrest and have security there or police there to haul them away. And we can file charges later in the courts. So you tell me how legal that is. Okay? You can email me at AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. I know I've said a lot. I know that you probably have to go back and listen to it again just to get everything that I've said, but that's okay because, I want to help you out understand. And hey, I want to understand too, so please let me know. If there's any additional information, please let me know. If I've overlooked something, let me know. Thank you. AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. It's the email address. Or you can just go to American Liberty Radio Podcast on Facebook. Drop a note in there. Yeah, I've talked so much and didn't get to the rest of the articles I wanted to get to, so guess what? I'm going into overdrive. So anyway, folks, excuse me. I went out before coming into the studio and had breakfast. So, yes. Anyway, I want you to understand that independent media is the way to go. This mainstream propaganda media, we need to throw it in the trash. That's just the way it is. They're talking about radicalized. Holy crap! They've been paid for by the system for many, many years, and they're not going to tell you the truth. You want the truth and the facts? You come to American Liberty Radio Network. I'm not going to give you any BS. Or you can go listen to Alex Jones, or you can go listen to Nick Tucker at Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker, or Brian Lang, or any number of people that are out there. If you want the truth. If I'm not your cup of tea, I'm sure you can drink elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? Folks, I'm going into overdrive. So, stick around. I got more to talk about and some articles to read that I didn't get to in the last hour. So, talk to you in a bit. This is American Liberty Radio Network, AmericanLibertyRadio.com, sharing the truth one fact at a time without all the BS. What's there to talk about? A lot. No subject is off limits. From politics to the paranormal, from entertainment to what is for dinner, there's more to everyday life than what we can imagine. Want to hear more? Listen to The Wayne S. Pierce Show on American Liberty Radio Network. You can also hear his show on the Wayne S. Pierce Show.weebly.com. That's The Wayne S. Pierce Show on American Liberty Radio Network. For more information, go to thewaynespearceshow.weebly.com. Smashing through the lies of the mainstream media, tearing down the walls of misinformation.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
Shattering the foundations of the new world order.
To bring China into the creation of a new world order.
The truth, the facts, no bullshit.
In this new world, such dangerous currents have swept along faster than our efforts to contain them. And that is why we cannot afford to be divided.
The American Liberty Radio Network. AmericanLibertyRadio.com.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
For more information, go to AmericanLibertyRadio.com or email them at AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. Nova Center for the Performing Arts has picked its 2017 and 2018 productions. These productions will fit this year's theme of Around the World. The season will have 10 productions, including 4 main stage theater productions: Mousetrap, Quilters, Celtic Christmas, and The Complete History of America, Abridged. The season will include 4 youth shows: Madeline, Brunderbar, Gulliver's Travels, and The Schoolhouse Rock. The season will also include 2 operas: Festival of One-Act Operas and Pirates of Penzance. So come join the fun this season at Nova Center for the Performing Arts. For more information, go to their website at www.novabillings.org. Create your own podcast. Spreaker has it all. Set up your account and get ready to record podcasts or host live radio shows from your computer or mobile device. Spreaker's wide range of tools covers every step of the podcasting process, from simple recording and broadcasting apps to analytics on your audience. You can upload your files or migrate content over using the RSS importer. Host your show today. For more information, go to Spreaker.com.
I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. I order all those assembled to immediately disperse. You must leave the immediate vicinity. If you remain in this immediate vicinity, you will be in violation of the Crimes Code.
www.livetruthradio.com, the not politically correct radio broadcast. Oh yeah, come on over and join us to stand up, speak out, and get involved. The radio they don't want you to hear. Ha ha ha.
I felt a great disturbance in the force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror, and were suddenly silenced.
Hey folks, how you doing? This is the American Liberty Radio Network, AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. This is the 20th of June, 2017. Wow, it's June already. Holy crap. Did we not just pass Christmas last year? What the hell is going on? It's called life. We move through it, we live it, we wake up every day and go from there. But, yeah, how you doing today? Are you good? Because, again, you woke up, you put your feet on the floor, you stood up. That's a good thing, right? So, yeah. So, anyway, want to talk about a little news, a little something going on in our world today. I'm the more I read this news and the more that I see what's going on, okay, the more that I just want to, the more I want to scream. The more I just want to get up and just scream and yell and get in people's faces. I just don't, I don't do that because it's a waste of my energy and I can, direct that energy in some other way. Bernie Sanders urges supporters to act in unprecedented way to stop Republicans. Bernie Sanders is urging Democrats to fight the GOP by any means necessary. Bernie Sanders. American Mirror is reporting this. It's on Infowars.com. Apparently not learning any lessons from a near-fatal attack by one of his supporters on the Republican congressmen and staffers, Bernie Sanders is urging Democrats to fight the GOP by any means necessary. During a Facebook Live Q&A with fellow progressive crank Elizabeth Warren on Monday, Sanders told a supporter named Mary that liberals need to take unprecedented action to stop Republicans. Responding to a question about the Republican health care bill, Sanders said, quote, "Our job from coast to coast is to bring millions of people together. When I talk about a political revolution, this is what I'm talking about. It's for people all over the world, all over the country, to put pressure on every level of government to say that in America we are the wealthiest country in the history of the world. We are not going to do horrendous things to millions and millions of people, working people," unquote. He goes on to say, quote, "We got to stand up and fight back," Sanders said. Quote, "We have got to be involved in the political process in a way that we have never been before because what is happening now in Washington, D.C. is unprecedented," unquote. Pointing to the camera, Sanders said, "You have got to, Mary, act in an unprecedented way. Think big. Get involved in every way that you can," unquote. Yeah. He again addressed the woman by name. Quote, "Mary, stand up and fight back in every way that you can," unquote, Sanders said. Last week, a reported Sanders supporter opened fire on a Republicans practicing for a charity baseball game. Fox News reports a gunman believed to be a supporter of former Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders sprayed a hail of bullets at a GOP baseball practice Wednesday morning. That was last Wednesday. Critically wounding House Majority Whip Steve Scalise and injuring 4 others before U.S. Capitol Police took down the rifle-wielding assailant. Republican Ron DeSantis, Republican of Florida, told Fox News he left just before the shooting. As he walked to his car, a man asked DeSantis if it was a Republican or Democrats practicing. About 3 minutes later, at around 7:09, the shooting began, DeSantis said. He later told Fox Business he believed the man who approached him was the shooter. Now, let me go back and say this. He told this woman he was in a Facebook Live Q&A. Bernie Sanders was, former presidential candidate. And he told this woman that asked him a question. And the question was, if my browser decides it wants to work, there we go. There was no, I can't find a question, but Sanders told a supporter, this Mary, that was watching him, Sanders said this, and I quote, you have got to, Mary, act in an unprecedented way. Think big. Get involved in every way that you can, unquote. That's what he told her. Okay? That's what he told her. And Bernie Sanders, as the writer here from this article on InfoWars, and I'll put this on there, Bernie Sanders is literally telling the Democrats to go commit and engage in a warlike action against the Republicans, and as Bernie Sanders says, quote, by any means necessary, unquote. So you tell me who are the radicalized politicians in this country. Go ahead, tell me. Tell me who are the radicalized politicians in this country. And when I say radicalized, I'm talking, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Nancy Pelosi. I'm talking these people as well. Everybody. Do you know why Nancy Pelosi and all them want the refugees in this country? Give you 2 words. Cha-ching. It's all about the Benjamins, people. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. And I'll tell you why. You put these people on EBT cards, you put them on some type of supplement from the government, you do that, right? These people are going to use their EBT cards, their SNAP cards, their Lone Star cards. They're going to go to the store, they're going to buy something. They're going to buy what is required of them to buy. They're going to have rules and restrictions on these cards as well. They're going to do this. And when that happens, and this is all spelled out in the documents that these people have in Washington, D.C. It's all on record. It's all there. It's all provable, every bit of it. When these people go to the stores and buy something, somebody somewhere is making a profit off of that transaction. So your politicians are making a few bucks on the side other than the $174,000 a year that they make. Why is it a freshman congressman can go into Congress and within 4 to 5 years or 6 years, he's a freaking millionaire? How can they do that? Because the system is corrupt. The system is corrupt. There is no checks and balances. And basically what that means is that we, the people, should check to see if they're balanced, if budgets are balanced, if money is going to the right places. We, the people, that's our responsibility because, hey, do you not pay taxes every year? Do you not get stuff taken out of your check every payday? By the way, that's not a tax. You're not taxed on that money until the end of the year because all they're doing is putting all that withholdings, that's what that is, into an account. And they're saying, okay, we withheld this, you've made this amount, and you've got deductions on that amount. We withheld this amount over here, but we're going to tax you on the money you make. And basically, if I don't know how it financially works, but somehow you get part of your money back. You see what I'm saying? So there's this whole corrupt system, and your politician, your candidate is in the middle of this. They become freshman congressmen, freshman senators, or House of Representatives. And within 6 years, 10 years, maybe if they stick around that long, they're millionaires. Why? Insider trading with the stock market and other lobbyists and special interest groups paying them off because they got bills through and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, it's all a corrupt system, folks. It's all a corrupt system. It's all there. Okay? And it's all in your face. It's all there. And the one thing that I know, the one thing that I understand about Washington, D.C. is what I've known throughout history when I've studied history. Not that I lived it, I'm not that old. But when you look prior to 1871, everything was fine. Everybody was, there was yelling, there was people getting upset and, trying to manipulate this, that, and the other. And that was, that was okay. I mean, we had that, okay? It worked. It worked well up until 1871. Now, what happened in 1871? Well, let's back up let's back up 10 years. 1860, 1861, the Civil War happened. 1865, it ended in April of 1865. President Lincoln was murdered by the coward John Wilkes Booth, and, everything went to hell in a handbasket after that point. Okay? In 1871, President Ulysses S. Grant, the person that accepted the surrender and the terms of Robert E. Lee at the Civil War, he became president. He signed into law the Act of 1871, which turned the United States of America, number one, into a corporation. Number two, moved the capital from Pennsylvania to a small little 10 square mile piece of land over in Delaware and Virginia we call Washington, D.C. Why is it called Washington District of Columbia? That's a history lesson in itself. After 1871, after the elites and all the Rothschilds and the Rockefeller ancestry and all that, when they, manipulated the President Ulysses S. Grant into signing the Act of 1871, it became the United States of America Incorporated. Okay? We had a president prior to that. We had presidents prior to that having the power to go to Congress and say, this enemy is bothering us. Thomas Jefferson would be the perfect example of how we need to handle Muslim people and the Islamic faith in trying to destroy the United States of America, like they destroyed Turkey. It was Constantinople before it was changed to Istanbul because of, Constantine. It changed over after the Muslims took over Turkey. And it's been that way ever since. But we need to understand where this, throughout history, we need to understand where the United States is as of today, the 20th of June, 2017. We need to understand that. And if we don't grasp that understanding, if we don't hold our history in our hand and make the changes needed to bring America back to what it was, and to borrow from President Trump, make America great again, guess what? You might as well hand the keys to the United States of America over to three separate people: the Russians, the Chinese, and the Muslims. You might as well, because nobody in the United States has the balls or the backbone to stand up for the United States of America. Nobody has the guts. Like it took many, many years ago in 1773 for a group of people to come together and throw tea into the harbor in Boston because they were pissed off at King George for taxing them. And it was about the tax. It wasn't about anything else. It's going to take courage. It's going to take backbone. It's going to take guts. It took guts for the South to, secede from the rest of the United States of America under, two presidents? and President Lincoln. But, you know, we got them back into the fold. I'm sure there's still people down there who are pissed off because their ancestors lost the war, you know what I'm saying? Analysts have said that the South was, you know, constructing and doing things in a way that was very much more constitutional than what the North was doing. And I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't there. I know my relatives were there in the North, but I wasn't there. I don't know the inner workings of all that. But I get sidetracked on different thoughts, but that's a thought. We need to understand what America is today. We need to look back in history and understand what it was then. And we have to ask ourselves right now, are we willing to put our life on the line in the United States against our domestic enemies to make America great again? Are we willing to do that? Somebody asked me a few years back if I ever had the opportunity to lead, 25, 30, 50 people, in the defense of the United States of America, specifically in the region I was living, which was Reno, Nevada. Would I be willing to do that? And I said, you bet. Where do I sign up? Because that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Now, if I don't stop talking, I'm not going to get to the articles I wanted to get to. That was one of them that I wanted to get to about Bernie Sanders. I just thought that was the stupidest thing he could have ever said. I mean, he said some stupid stuff, and I know Jesse Ventura, supports Bernie Sanders, and there's a lot of people that support him, and I'm just like, he's a freaking idiot. Why would you want to support him? So from the Washington Times, Rowan Scarborough writes, new study supports Trump. 5.7 million non-citizens may have cast illegal votes. As many as 5.7 million non-citizens may have voted in 2008 election. See, that gets you into the article. Man, all that, right? A research group in New Jersey had taken a fresh look at post-election polling data and concluded that the number of non-citizens voting illegally in the United States elections is likely far greater than previously estimated. As many as 5.7 million non-citizens may have voted in 2008 election, which put Barack Obama in the White House. The research organization Just Facts, a widely cited independent think tank led by self-described conservatives and libertarians, revealed its number crunching in a report on national immigration. Just Facts President James D. Agresti, I guess that's what it is, sorry, James, and his team looked at data from an extensive Harvard YouGov study that every 2 years questions a sample size of tens of thousands of voters. Some acknowledge they are non-citizens and are thus ineligible to vote. So I'm going to put that on American Liberty Radio podcast. If you're ineligible to vote, you need to be in the system. And these people at the voting booths at the polling places need to look you up on the computer, and if your name is in there and it says ineligible, you don't get to vote. I know a lot of people don't like that idea. I myself think that's an excellent idea, just like there should be a abuse registry for animal abusers, much like there is for child abusers and child predators. Here's something interesting. Reuters is reporting on June 20th, 2017, U.S. investigators in Russia probe look at role of Flynn partner. Bijan Kian played a central role in securing and overseeing contract. Federal investigators probing the lobbying work of ousted National Security Advisor Michael Flynn are focused in part on the role of Bijan Kian, Flynn's former business partner, according to a person interviewed by the FBI. Investigators are also looking at whether payments from foreign clients to Flynn and his company, the now inactive Flynn Intel Group, were lawful, according to two separate sources with knowledge of the board inquiry into Flynn's business activities. That includes payments by 3 Russian companies and a Netherlands-based company, Innovo, controlled by Turkish businessman Ekim Alptekin, I think. Sorry, Ekim. The FBI's interest in Kian has not been previously reported. Kian played a central role in securing and overseeing the Innovo contract, two people with knowledge of that project said. It is not clear whether Kian is a target of the criminal investigation or whether investigators are trying to build a fuller understanding of how Flynn's company operated. Now, it's important. It says read more, so I'm going to put that on American Liberty Radio podcast. It's interesting to me that companies are allowed to do as much as they do in Washington, D.C., specifically when they're funded by foreign interests. It is illegal for any foreign government to contribute financially to any elections in the United States, but let me use 2 words to describe how it's done. Money laundering. How else do you think these lobbyists and special interest groups get money into the pockets of the politicians? Huh? From foreign governments. Yeah. It's all on record. You can go look at it. Cross your T's, dot your I's, follow the money and connect the dots. There you go. It's just... I can go on and on and on, but I won't. I'll just be ranting for the next 2.5 minutes. I don't want to do that either. We need to, and I know I'm going to get flack for this. The government, Washington, D.C. specifically, needs to collapse. We need to rebuild it of, by, and for the people as it was originally, and we need to tell every single person running for Congress, running for Senate, running for the House, you either do what the people tell you to do or don't even bother running. We, the people, control Washington, D.C., or should. We don't have control of it anymore. And we tell the politicians what to do, when to do it, why to do it, and how. Because we're the ones here in the trenches working every day to try to survive. And by the way, we don't need lawyers in Washington, D.C. A good 80%, 85% of Washington, D.C. and Congress is filled with lawyers. We don't need them. We need the mom that owns a child care center. We need the dad who has a franchise of car lots. Or, we need regular people in Washington, D.C. The only time we need attorneys in Washington, D.C. is to advise these people on their legal or the legalities of their policies. That's all. The freaking lawyers that are in Washington, D.C. right now make up the rules as they go along and sign bills into law that pretty much exempt them from any type of repercussion. So, I don't know. I think I'll end it here in about 1.5 minutes. So, I want you guys to know that I really appreciate you guys listening. So if you want to listen more, hey, great, wonderful, fantastic. If you want to support American Liberty Radio Network, please consider it at least and go to AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. Go to the sponsors page. All the information is right there. Become a patron. Drop $1 into Kitty to help us keep the lights on around here. And it's always fun to come to you and to share with you my ideas, my concepts, what I've got on my mind about what I observe. I mean, that's great, and that's why you're here. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hopefully this Thursday I'll be getting Nick Tucker on the podcast so we can talk a little more about what's going on. So anywho, I'm going to get out of here, folks. I'm going to go away. I have to. I got stuff to do, man. No, I can't stay around here. Don't cry. I'll be back tomorrow. Jesus. This is American Liberty Radio Network. AmericanLibertyRadio.com, AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. Sharing the truth one fact at a time without all the BS.